Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask a question which I will flip in here for you guys, and he's saying, I don't understand. Can you explain to me how ex-NFL player and WWE wrestler Bill Goldberg has managed to be up as high as a lean 300 pounds while on a vegan diet? I don't get it. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. All right, particularly since I talked about ketogenic and low-carb diets last night, and you're dealing with almost the other extreme here. Now, that being said, I had to do some research because I saw the guy ask the question, so I was drinking my coffee, reading a little bit. I cannot find confirmation anywhere that he is, in fact, vegan. He is a vegetarian. He's a big animal rights activist. He is a big animal rights activist. He even has a pet goat. So we know he doesn't eat meat. But we don't know for a fact that he is a vegan. But even assuming he is a vegan and not just a vegetarian, it's always weird that people ask questions like that. You know what? Because every time you look at any fairly extreme diet, any diet that's extreme, meaning any diet that excludes large food groups, large sections of food, is fairly restrictive and extreme. All right? Yet you see top-level athletes, elite-level athletes in various sports, who follow extremely restrictive diets that are completely contrary to each other. You actually sometimes will see on the same playing field two athletes competing against each other, near similar rankings, and sometimes one will be on a ketogenic diet, another will be on a vegan diet. These are exact opposite diets. Exact opposite diets. They're as far apart as you could get on the extremes because one of them has no animal products, and the other is generally almost 100% animal products by calories with maybe a few vegetables thrown in. They're the opposite extremes. One of them tends to be insanely high carb, not always but often low fat. The other tends to be extremely high fat, low carb. Yet sometimes they will be competing against each other on the same playing field. You see massive, strong, powerful men and women who follow various extreme diets. Look at top-level strength athletes. Many of whom are enormous. Some of them follow vegan diets. Some of them follow ketogenic diets. Some of them follow paleo diets. Most of them follow fairly balanced diets. Some of them eat extremely clean. Others include lots of junk food. Yet they're all big. They're all strong. They're all powerful. Why is this? Because people actually think these things matter. That's the ridiculous part. People don't seem to understand that when it comes to human beings thriving, we are the most adaptable species the world has ever seen regarding the ability to consume vastly different diets, thrive in environments and be fit and healthy on diets in different regions of the world that resemble nothing like what someone in another region eats, yet we can be just as healthy, just as fit, just as athletic. That's the reason human beings have been successful on every single continent on Earth. We have a lot of different factors going on with us. Number one, our ability to cook. Number two, our ability to use tools. And number three, a fairly adaptable digestive system. We can thrive on vastly different diets. So people who have this idea that, oh, this one diet is the only one that works, the only one you can be fit on, the only one you can be healthy on, the only one you can gain muscle and strength on or endurance or whatever, anyone who tells you that is so full of fucking shit that they should shut their mouth. All right, they should shut their mouth. They are lying and provably liars. Because if they were telling the truth, then there wouldn't be elite level athletes and everything from endurance to power sports and they require massive amounts of size, others that require massive amount of endurance. There wouldn't be people on 6 different, extremely different diets competing at the top levels in the world in these different endeavors. All right? But there are. You know what? There are people on vastly different diets around the world living to be 100 with amazing health markers. Diets that resemble nothing like the other one. So anyone who tells you there is one only right way to do things with a diet is fucking lying to you, and they know they're a liar. Either they're so ignorant and deluded that they don't know any better because they've never bothered to spend 30 minutes researching, or they're knowingly a liar. There's the only two possibilities. So don't listen to anyone who tells you that. They are lying to you. What I just told you is the reality. There are people who run all these different diets. They work. Now, the question becomes, how could he do that on a vegan diet? Well, does he have access to carbs? Yeah. Most vegan diets are really, really high carb. Most athletes do really well on high carb diets. It's pretty easy to gain lots of muscle and get big on a high carb diet. In fact, the more carbs you eat, the less protein you need to gain muscle. And this also comes down to what people out there have been told by bodybuilding world they need for protein versus what top athletic trainers say strength athletes need to gain protein. The amount of protein they need to gain muscle. Most top sports dietitians in the world tell strength athletes to gain muscle while they're gaining weight. They generally need to consume somewhere between 1 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. For guys who are big, like Bill Goldberg, this is actually easier than for the smaller guy. And people would say, well, why? That doesn't make sense. Because the bigger you get and the more athletic you get, your calorie needs start going up exponentially. They start going up exponentially. A 300-pound guy like Goldberg, with all of his training, might have maintenance calories somewhere in the range of 5,000 or 5,500 calories a day. Or more. Whereas in someone half his weight, a 150-pound guy can usually gain muscle and weight on less than half of that. So you see how that works. If you can gain muscle and weight on less than 2,500 calories a day, if you're 150 pounds and weak, there's a total different need there, because for him to get the protein he needs, 300 pounds is what? How many kilos? Something like 140 kilos, 130 kilos. That means he needs somewhere between, 130 and 200 grams of protein a day. You know how easy it is for a vegan to get 200 grams, or 150 even, to 200 grams of protein on 5,000 calories a day? They don't even have to track their protein. Like, unless you're eating nothing but fruit and white rice, there's no way you're not going to hit those protein needs. Think about that for a minute. 4,000 calories of whole wheat pasta has 140 grams of protein in it. All right, he could just eat pasta for the first 80% of his calories and hit his protein needs to gain muscle. Throw in a can of beans and it goes up another 30. Unless you're specifically avoiding grains and beans and vegetables, there's no way you're not going to hit those protein needs on the type of calories a guy like that eats. So why would anyone think he would struggle to reach that? It's not that difficult. And furthermore, again, carbohydrates are protein sparing. Most top athletes follow extremely high carbohydrate diets. All right, that's normal. The ketogenic followers in the athletic world are actually the exception to the rule, not the norm. There's arguments from certain doctors, like Dr. Peter Atella, that some endurance athletes do better on high-fat diets, but people mistake that to mean purely ketogenic diets. The data actually shows that it's large amounts of carbohydrates combined with large amounts of fat before an endurance event that actually gives endurance athletes the best chance, because the first couple hours they're running purely on carbohydrates and they're running on fat. But that has nothing to do with strength training. But that's different types of athletes around the world. But the point is, if he's eating 3,000 calories of carbohydrates a day, and then filling the rest of his diet with other stuff to get to 5,000, he's going to have no trouble consuming enough carbohydrates to fuel his training performance. And again, vegan diets tend to be very high carbohydrate. There's no way he's not going to get enough protein unless, again, he is specifically avoiding higher protein foods like grains and legumes and stuff like that. But it's extremely easy, and I don't understand why people don't grasp that. The reason people see the low protein is because they see the low percentage, but they don't realize people don't need quite as much as they think they do to gain muscle. And there is protein in most plant foods. It's just most of them are not high in it, and it's possible to do something really stupid like a fruitarian diet and not get enough protein to gain muscle. That's possible. But there are plenty of plant-based foods that have decent amounts of protein in them. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when you look at a diet of someone like that, their diet is probably only 10% protein. For example, 5,000 to 5,500 calories a day at 10% protein falls within those ranges necessary to gain muscle. So that's people misunderstanding protein needs and misunderstanding how many calories a guy like that actually consumes on a daily basis, probably, again, to be 300 pounds. And again, people need to understand, anyone who's telling you that there's one specific type of diet that produces the best athletes around the world, the best size, and avoiding certain foods is the way to go. Entirely restrictive diets like that, they're full of shit, because there's always someone on the other extreme. There's probably 50 people on the other extreme who are massive, powerful, and performing at the elite level who are doing the exact opposite of what they're recommending. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's just personal preference at the end of the day. That's all it is. A personal preference you've made for a diet style. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.